Oh, wow. Oh, that was very clear, was it? It is now. All good, all good. So I'll wait until some people join in. Wow. Hi, Golden Grove. That was quick. Nice to see you. Took me by surprise, that did. I wasn't expecting you to be the first person in. Thank you for dropping by. I'll wait until the others come. I was hoping to have Paul and do a Zoom, but money is not easy to come by for me. And while Bill told me that Restream did it free, they don't. You have to pay, and then you get 2 months free. So I won't be doing the Zoom today, but I will be putting out the information that I was going to put out. Hope all is good in your world. Which hopefully is the same world as I'm in. Otherwise I'm in trouble. Hang on. Let's change that. So my computer seems to load a load of internet up, and then that takes up all the memory and everything. And it runs really slow, so I struggle to move my cursor. I don't know why that is. So, plan going forward. What's the plan going forward? The plan going forward would be to ask somebody who has a platform if I could go on their platform and do what I was expecting or hoping to do this Friday. From the office. Oh, isn't that a comedy program? Hope you've had a good day there then. I would say that's, very 5 o'clockish, I suppose, from there. I thought you were a outdoorsy farm type person. I must be mixing you up with someone else. Don't know why my stream is choppy. Let's close this. See if that helps. Have you signed a lot of papers or typed a lot of papers? When you say just going from the office, are you like the boss man, or are you working hard for the money? Hello, you other 2 people or 3 people. Just going to wait till a few more people come in before I talk about breaking news that's in the poem that may or may not have been created just to affect the future, as it were. But is a real event that has taken place, whether whether the creator created it or it happened. If that makes sense. I'll give it a few more minutes. So by now, obviously, if you people are in here watching this, then you know pretty much I talk about Forrest, Fenn treasure hunt. That information can be found in the poem. So there's some news out of a certain well-known person that Forrest must have put in the poem many years ago, definitely before today. And prediction or affecting, or however you want to look at it. So I was going to hopefully do the Zoom, like I said, but Zoom you have to pay. It was £150, which I can't justify spending £150 to do probably one or two shows. So as I can show people live what it is that I'm finding and doing. So and I was going to have Paul on and Davey B on, and we were going to have a little chat and almost question and answer type thing, because I fully believe that Forrest gave us all the information and told us how to go about doing what we were supposed to do. And it's, to me, and David B, there seems a misconception on how to go about doing that. And there are many people who say that they found a chest. And I agree totally. I think, yeah, they're all right. they all found a chest. And, as it seems, you're supposed to find a chest. I think you got the information to help you find a chest. Or, you were in the ballpark to find the chest where you found it. And it's hard to join in with the way that people say this ended. I don't believe it ended. I think it just, came to a point where it really started, which is what Forrest said at the beginning of his book. And I hear people talking about, I don't know his name, but the man who talks about the Breckenridge book, Forrest said exactly those things in The Thrill of the Chase. The author was writing about me, but he changed the names, etc., etc., etc. It's exactly what he said. So why couldn't that be part of a solve? I'm not saying that's a correct solve. I'm saying, why do people, fight against information like that that's in The Thrill of the Chase? Doesn't make sense. Well, there's 7 of us here, and I've only seen Golden Key growers join in, so that's a bit strange. So the 7 that are in, let's talk about Taylor Swift and tripping over her ham dress and hurting her left hand, and is Mercury retrograde coded and is good with a lot of O's. So in the poem, it talks about Taylor Swift doing such a thing on night 2, which is why I'm here today, because on night 2 she fell and she hurt her left hand. Now it says the creator on TikTok, so that could be somebody creating this news, but it's still news, and it was still in the poem in 2010 when the poem was handed out to everybody in the book. So if you had a crystal ball like that, you could look at it and go, on night 2 of the Eras tour, Taylor Swift is going to trip over a ham dress while running a quick change and hurt her left hand. How precise is that? And that goes along with, yeah, you do your chores, sir, or madam. I've made an assumption there, haven't I, that you are key nuts, and you might not be. Hi, Money. How are you? Did you miss the breaking news? So I was just saying that the poem says that Taylor Swift tripped over a ham dress and while running a quick change and hurt her left hand, basically. But I'm good, she says. And it was in Mercury retrograde. So to me, that's potentially information that would, send anybody who understood the poem looking at it and wondering, why is that in the poem? Why can I read that, 13 years before it happened? And Taylor Swift is not, she's not old, that people already knew about Taylor Swift 13 years ago. So why is that information there? So it has to make me wonder, either Forrest affects the future or predicts the future. The Powerball was in the Powerballs, two lotteries, one Powerball and one lottery, were in the poem before that happened. And the lawyer's office was in the poem before it happened, and Cynthia and K-Pro going along the Madison to the Flat Island to Totem was in the poem before it happened. Pam with Ryan Bavetta with the words far too soon was in the poem before it happened. So there seems to be a crazy coincidence that you can look in the poem and find out information relating to the chase. And this information is not haphazard. You don't find a bit here and a bit there. You can, but if you want to criticize the poem, you could find that as a quick, but this information in, there's information there. It's all over the place, and you can do that in anything. But this information is precise. It's methodical, and it's exact. So, and it's contiguous, chronological, one foot on top of the other, those sort of things. And it's shift, drift, and adjust, move with confidence, all of those things, in order to find that information. So if there is information in the poem, and you're told that you only need the poem, wouldn't it be logical to use that as a starting point instead of all the internet searches, comic books, all of those things that have been used by other people? Now, I don't say they're wrong, because all of the souls are in the poem. They're there in the same place. That in itself, must make or should make people think, instead of still thinking my soul has to be correct, you've got to think, well, why are we all right? Why are we all in the same place? How did Forrest help us to do that? What is the overriding factor in that information? The fact that it can be found and not just haphazard, using a method. And good things. Yeah, I didn't really say much. I was waiting for a bit for people to come on board. It was just I wanted to do a Zoom. I wanted to be able to show the information rather than just talk about the information. Which is why I wanted the Zoom. But the Zoom costs money, and I haven't really got the justification to spend that much money. And I was going to try and use Restream because Bill said that was free. But when I actually looked into it and went to purchase it, it actually says that you have to pay for it. And the cheap version only allows 2 people and blah, blah, blah. You get it free if you do a full subscription. You get 2 months free. But you still have to pay to get those 2 months free. So I was trying to justify to myself whether that was going to be, while I think the information I'm going to give is good information, I can't justify spending £150 just to download an app that I might use once or twice. So if anybody out there has a platform that they don't mind me scrounging off and using, then I'll be happy to accept that. Well, as far as only 2 people writing, there's 13 people here. Hello, all you lurkers. So Davey B will be asleep anyway. I don't know if Paul Paul's still up or not. I know I went on a bit late, but as Mike says, life gets in the way. Things have to be done. Before we can do the pleasurable things, things that we do for ourselves, I suppose. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, I mean things that we like to do that we find interesting, that we find helps us in our life, as opposed to family responsibilities, those sort of things. So stepping outside that zone of, what is the zone of? Well, the zone of responsibility, I suppose. This, I'm not responsible for this. This is nothing that I'm responsible for. I can choose to do this or choose not to do it. But there are some things that you know, father, grandfather, great grandfather, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever they, or partner, don't want to get in trouble by these people. So partner, you have responsibility to people in your life. I suppose the duty of care that you have when you go to work, extends to family or the other way around. So this is my time, as it were, the time for me to do, what I want to do. And even while, people might say, you're crazy, you're stupid, why are you wasting your time doing that? Those sort of things. It's my time to do that, to waste. So that's why I'm here. Asking questions. Quite surprised. So, thinking about the poem and what you can find in it. If Jack is not real, and Jack is definitely real. Jack exists. The chest exists. It was sold at Heritage Restore. Wrote about in the poem, including the LLC that Cesare Sagrado, including the lawyer that was there. All of that was in the poem for people to see. So that really did happen. It's not fake and it's not fraud. It's just trying to achieve a goal, in my opinion. There's no fraud. While it looks bad, and I've said it before, it's like setting up a private, not private, secret, what's the word? Secret party? Surprise party. You can't tell. You just can't tell, because the end, you don't want the end known. So do whatever it takes. As bad as that looks while you're trying to set up this surprise party, and it may cause arguments and it may cause fallouts, but at the end of the day, to achieve the result, you have to do those things. And Forrest, hinted at that he said, this person is a necessary evil. He also said, I wanted somebody that would do it. Somebody would do the things that I asked them to do, no matter what it was. If I say burn it, they'll burn it. Which means he's trying to achieve something that may look bad, which lends to the fact that he said, think nice thoughts. Just before the chest was found, he was implying that there could be a backlash of some sort, because he talks about him taking flack. So all of that information before the chest was found was, in my opinion, was leading up to the fact that Forrest was going to do something, and it wasn't going to look good. It really wasn't going to look good. So we just had to have faith in the Maverick. We had to trust in what was happening. Now, it's hard to know whether the chaos is purely for the community. I don't think it's purely for the community to, for the chaos to happen. I think to make it happen, it's for everybody. No one should know until they should know, if ever they should know. So for me, there is no argument. There is no fraud. And that leads me on to the second thing that I want to say. There's a person in the chase who, I don't dislike, but doesn't understand my Fenn speak. So when I say they are negative, I mean they are not a searcher. They claim to have a solve and a claim. No, they don't claim to have a solve. They claim to have a claim. But that claim is in the poem, just like all the other searchers. So Josh Jordan's claim of Amber and Kendall, and that he found the chest, is in the poem just the same as all the other souls. So while the claim is I was not searching, but I found the chest, it's still a claim. And the negative aspect of that is just that I'm not a searcher. He's saying, no, I'm not a searcher. And yet he claims to have found the chest while not searching. So you found the chest because you were supposed to find the chest, and you're claiming it to be a solve because it says you found it. So therefore your solve is that you found it at that nook that you say you found it at. And that is in the poem, in the same place as everybody else is in the poem. So the negative aspect is not because you're a negative person, it's because you are not a searcher. You are not on the plus side of it. You do not claim to be a searcher. You claim to have found it by doing the one thing, the main thing that Forrest said you couldn't do. You couldn't stumble on it. And there you are, finding Forrest stumbling and falling on the floor, but you stumbled on it. And that is your claim, which is a claim that Forrest said nobody's going to stumble on this chest. So the negative person that I'm talking about is the person who is not a searcher. Not because you're bad and have a negative influence, but when you come into a chat and talk about, this is fraud and etc., 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 then I find it hard to take you seriously because the fraud is you. The fraud that says you're not a searcher, even though you claim to have found while not searching, and you claim to have stumbled on a chest that was not going to be stumbled on. So it's difficult to take that seriously when it's in the poem as a good solution. And I could be wrong, but I'm only telling you what I see. And the information I give is probably different than the information you receive because I try to tell you something without telling you anything. And you have to look behind the information that I give. So your negativity or you being negative is because you're not a searcher. And you admit that. So you are negative. You are not a searcher. They are your own words. So therefore you're in the negative bunch of people who are positively searchers. They admit they're searchers and they went out searching. Or they attempted to search. But you are negative to that. You didn't go out searching. You didn't try to solve the poem, but you found the chest. You stumbled on it. The one thing that Forrest said nobody would do. And yet your solution, your good solution, is in the poem. Hi, Bill. Taking flags. I know I could count on you, Bill. Our point was to prove Forrest wrong. I had a bet with Doug that nobody would find it before he died. Bet he had a bet with Doug that nobody would find it before he died. I thought he would bet the other way. Yeah, not associated with a man-made structure. Just, totally blows me away, that does. It's like, but you're associating it with a cross, which is made by a man. And you're not only associating it, you're actually probably touching the chest with that cross. So it couldn't be more associated with a man-made structure. My solve is about this cross that has been made by a man, and therefore it must be right. And I can't say that, I can say that it's right, but I can't say that it's correct because just like I was saying about Josh, you're doing something that Forrest said wouldn't happen. You stumbled on the chest. What? Hey? And you're not searching. You're not searching, but you stumbled on the chest. So you can find the chest. You can stumble on the chest if you're not looking for it. So it doesn't make sense. And it's still in the poem as a good solution. And, Dave is associating it with a cross. So that too. And the only reason I say I can't say they're wrong is because they're in the poem, but they're making Forrest a lie. Both of them. By saying that, you're saying Forrest lied when he said you wouldn't stumble on it, and he lied when he said it's associated with a man-made structure. And I don't think Forrest is a lie. Well, I know he's not a lie. So, hang on. Hang on. I know he's capable of stretching the truth and telling half-truths. because we are all capable of doing that if there is an agenda. So he's trying to make something happen. So therefore he is unable to tell the whole truth. So, but I have to be careful because, the way you understand words and the way I've been trying to learn how to understand words are totally different. Totally different. They don't mean what you think they do. Hi, Amy. Tell us all the secrets of the world. Okay, I will try, but I doubt it very much. A cross is spiritually made. That cross that we see is spiritually made. That cross was not spiritually made. That Kent and Esther cross was made by a person. I know what you're trying to say, Bill, but no, that cross. No, it was made by a man. It was the Alpha Associate family, Alpha Moses. Cliff. Okay, there's a lot too much information there for me, but I do believe that Moses has a part to play in this. And I'm talking of the Moses that you're talking of. I do believe that Moses has a part in this. Absolutely, 100%. One of 23, 23 is it? 23 people have a part to play. And Moses is, one of the main ones. So the secrets of the world, 42, Amy. That's the life, the universe, and everything. I'm sure Davio would agree. How are you anyway, Amy? Are you coping with teenagers? I think they're teenagers. Are you coping with teenagers? But you have to remember, you were a teenage once. About, hang on, let's get this right. You're a teenager about 5 years ago. No, if they're teenagers, it'd be 32. So you have to be 16 to have the first, and then 16, they would have to be 30. So you're going up to 25, let's say. At least, if you had them really, really early. So you were a teenager once. Hi, Wig, you're right. All good. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Moses. Yes, he does. So I hope that's Moses you're talking about anyway. So basically, if you missed it, I was talking about the reason I'm here today is because Taylor Swift was going to hurt herself while, running for a quick change. I was going to hurt her left hand at Eras Tour Night 2. And, I was going to be part of the breaking news that she has done that. But she's, retrograde, Mercury in retrograde coded. But she's good. So she must have listened good, I suppose. So basically just talking about, Taylor Swift being in the poem and saying that she's okay when she hurt her hand because she fell while doing a quick running change, something like that, and tripped over a dress hem the dress hem. I played by the rules. I was a good teenager. I played by the rules. Whose rules? I played by the rules, but they weren't my rules. So I tried to get away with only being seen to be doing good things and not being seen to be doing bad things. And that didn't always work. But I tried to be good when I had to be good, and then it didn't matter what I was doing when I could get away with it, if that makes sense. So basically, I would go places when I wasn't supposed to go places, but made sure that nobody would inform on me. Those sort of things. So I was trying to play by my rules while pretending to play by my dad's rules. And my dad was strict, very strict. So, I probably got away with it more times than I didn't, but when I didn't, ouch. Oh, come on, you have to make rules. You have to, it's part of growing up to push the envelope, isn't it? You have to, well, like Forrest says, you have to think, what if? What if I could? What if? Now, really, I was good. It depends what you call bad. So I wasn't bad, but I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So not necessarily evil, bad stuff, but I wasn't being as good as I should have been. So I want to think that I'm like a, James Dean type person. Just, I would try to do the things that I wasn't supposed to be doing because my friends wanted me to do those things and my parents didn't want to do those things. So they weren't bad things, they were just part of growing up, I suppose. Street lights on, nah, see, now those sort of things. So we had a roof. We had a roof outside the window, and more so in the winter when it was dark, we'd be out the window down that roof. The usual trick, putting stuff in the bed and making it look like somebody's sleeping there, that sort of stuff, and then we'd be out the window. Looking back, crazy thing to do because if we fell off, you wouldn't be walking. Hi, Ashley. How are you? Double Omega into AA batteries. Oh, Moses. For my the cart to the treasure parked in Principal Fenn's space in the car park at the Denver Museum. So I can fully understand that, and I can link that to those, the Wolf Creek, the wolves that were there, and the pyrite that was there, and the rainbow doodah that was there. So while I was in the same place as you, Bill, I looked at it and go, no, because Forrest said this, that, and the other. And he said, if you know where it is, get out into the trees, and get it. Get out into the trees and get it. So I thought, hang on a minute. Why did Forrest say that? Then I had to think, well, Forrest said, solve the first two clues. That's basically what I was telling us all the time. Solve the first two clues and you'll get it. Just solve the first two clues. So everything that he said about you had to know where warm water's hot. If you didn't have that, stay in play canasta. Solve the first two clues, walk right by the chest. The little girl from India can't get closer than the first. So it can't get closer. That's important that he said that. Can't get closer than the first two clues. If I told you the Homer Brown, you go right straight to it. So if you used any of the poem after that, you're going away from the chest. Absolutely, 100%. Forrest wouldn't have said all of those things if it wasn't about those first two clues. You had to solve those first two clues and know where you were. And if you went from there, it's no place for the meek, and you went somewhere else, you're walking past the chest. You're walking past it. Or driving past it, or whatever it is in the soul that you have. And I firmly believe that. I believe Forrest was telling people, if you find the Homer Brown, you find, what you need to know. If you understand what the Homer Brown is, my put in below the Homer Brown was put in. That's where it was put. It's not a put in. I don't even understand what a put in is. I mean, I do now, but then I was thinking, what's a put in? So the way I see it is just put in below the Homer Brown. That's where it was put. Because Forrest said, solve the first two clues, walk right by the chest. Put in below the Homer Brown. So find the Homer Brown. Find the Homer Brown, and that's where it's put in. That's simple enough, as I could see. Yes, it is in the trees. Yes, it is in the trees. You have to get into the trees, which is, find the Homer Brown. Well, hang on a minute. Hang on. So Forrest gave us many roads to travel down and was diabolical and had a simple solve and a difficult but not impossible solve. So how to understand those three things. Now, is the simple solve in the trees the same way as the diabolical or the difficult but not impossible solve is? And is there only a chest or is there something more? So while the answer is correct, it depends, as Forrest would answer, it depends what Forrest was talking about at that time, what he was referring to. Do you find yourself doing the loop? That lady's dangerous. What was that referring to? So is he talking about a road that is a loop road, or is he talking about being in the poem and doing the loop, or on a plane doing the loop? So alphabet, definitely. So, my ABCs come from the words that Forrest gave me, not my ABCs. They're Forrest Fenn ABCs. So I used his ABCs to understand what he was saying. And if you look up ABCs, you'll see what I mean by that. So if Forrest had the answers in his head, then surely we should try to work out what was in his head, or what he meant by my answer in my head. They're not written down, they're not on any computer anywhere. Surrounded by trees. That's not in the trees. That's in the meadow. In the trees. But I know what you're saying. And I'm not saying you're wrong, Bill. I'm just saying I have a different train of thought. And I'm more critical with my own soul. So I would not cheat myself into thinking that. Hey, Robert, how are you? All good. Your ABCs come from Greece. Yes, they do. They come from Greece or Rome? Yes, well, good. It's a good way of putting it, Bill. Yes. So in order for me to get my words, I have to, not my words, Forrest's words, in order to understand what Forrest said. So he was in Spanish class. Let's look at it this way. Forrest says, my eyes are open, my eyelids are shut. What does that mean? Well, to me, it means even though his eyelids are shut, he can still see. He can still imagine. He can still be in his reverie. And he doesn't have to slide down the fire escape. He could still be in the room. He could still be in the room. He could have his eyelids closed, but he could still see whatever he wants to see. And that, to me, sounds simple enough to understand. My eyes are open. It's my eyelids that are shut. So I am dreaming, daydreaming, whatever. You missed the ha there, Amy. I'm sure DB Cooper's going to come in here at some point. Did you have at the home of Brown? No. I think he said, why would you worry about the home of Brown when you have the blaze? Is it why worry about the blaze when you have the home of Brown? So that means you don't have to, if you know where the home of Brown is, you don't have to worry about the blaze. The blaze was going to show you, if you didn't know what the home of Brown is, the blaze was going to show you that's what it was. Like, this is the home of Brown! This! And then look quickly down. So, why are you worried about the blaze if you know what the home of Brown is? Which is, solve the first two clues. Why are you all the way down the poem worrying about the blaze when you're already at the home of Brown? Because once you go past the home of Brown, you go past the chest, which was his statement. Some people have solved the first two clues, walk right by the chest. If I told you the home of Brown, you go right straight to it. So why worry about the blaze? You don't need to worry about the blaze. Go straight to the home of Brown. If you know what the home of Brown is, go straight to it. Little girl from India can't get closer than the first two clues. So, I could go right straight to it, he said. Solve the first two clues, you're halfway there, metaphorically speaking. Solve the first two clues, and it's academic. If you understand those words, you can understand what Forrest meant when he said those words. And that's still the first two clues. You solve the first two clues, that should be, most of the chase done. No. The chest, you can sort out what the chest is when you do that. But the poem is more than just a chest. You don't spend 15 years on a poem and put a chest out in the Rocky Mountains that's worth about $1 million. No. No, there's something more. And you don't say, if I can make it happen. What do you mean if you can make it happen, Forrest? To make it happen, you take a chest, you put it in the Rocky Mountains, and you ask people to go look for it. There, you made it happen. So there's something else that had to happen. There's something else that had to happen. Not just finding that chest. Somebody finding the chest didn't end the chase. Something ends the chase. Not somebody finding the chest. He made that statement. What's going to happen when you're not here, Forrest? Well, the chase will go on. It will go on until something ends it. Not it will go on until somebody finds it. It will go on until something ends it. So something ends it. And it's not about finding, it wasn't about finding the chest. It was somebody find the chest. So all the information that Forrest gave, in my opinion, David B's opinion, is, tantamount to slapping you around the face and saying, look, I just told you this, and I've told you this, and I've told you this, and I've told you this. But he said it in such a way that people laughed and didn't take, did the hot water effect patina. Absolutely a hint. Absolutely a hint. Wearing gloves, absolutely a hint. Torch, a hint. A sandwich is a pudding, so you need the pudding. Do you need a crutch? Special place. Hiding behind a skirt. All that information you're given from Forrest, I know it came out from other people, but that information came from Forrest originally. And he basically did Chinese whispers with everybody and said, well, I'll tell you this, and I know you're going to tell so-and-so, I know you're going to tell so-and-so. And he put that information out, and that information is to aid the finder. The finder will know exactly what's going on. We'll read it and go, oh, that's what he's saying. K-Pro with Cynthia, along the Madison, going to a flat island and going to Totem Cafe. That's information that the finder's supposed to know and would understand, in my opinion. It's not there to aid the seeker. It's what Forrest said. So if you're a seeker, if you're still searching, still seeking, it's not there to help you. The Dial of Destiny, yes. Who stole my treasure? Well, you see, I don't exclude any answers. If we talk about that film, Amy, or you're just saying Eyes Wide Shut, that was a good film with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. I like that. Anyway, that was one of my early words. Dan. But talking of EN, Ben is a good word. Ben is a really good word that you should probably question what Ben is all about, not who Ben is all about. Although you can question that as well. Blaze art and quotes. I don't disagree with that. Were we given that clue where it hurt? Oh, so you're saying that the clue itself was where warm waters halt. So he said, well, if you don't have that clue, he said, begin it where warm waters halt is the clue. So that whole sentence is possibly the clue, or it could be begin it is the clue, and then where warm waters halt. So you have to take that whole sentence. Begin it where warm waters halt is the first clue. Begin it where warm waters halt is the first clue. But in that first sentence, you have to take into account that Forrest said, words don't mean what you think they do. So now, does begin mean begin? Does it mean it? Does where means where? And so on. So I looked at all those words and worked out what was Forrest really saying in that first sentence. That is the first clue. So if begin it where warm waters hold is the first clue, then what is the second clue? And why, if I told you the home of Brown, would you go right straight to it? So within those 4 lines, are there 2 clues? And Forrest said something like, that sounds like 3 or 4 to me. So what was he talking about? Not sure what acoustic is. Peggy told us what it is. Call it the bullet because it is sharp. Yeah, but what does that mean? Sand wedge. Well, I didn't think sand wedge, but I know sand wedge is a pudding. So you definitely need a pudding. You definitely need gloves. Well, in my opinion, you need gloves. And you would need a torch, maybe. So should we be finding the finder then? Finder is a shy guy from back east. I dare you to come find me, says Forrest. Nobody's looking for Forrest, Amy. And that's because they're looking at the information that's come out. So there's a table with Willie and some stuff there, something in the background, but nobody's looking at the foreground and nobody's involved to think, where's Forrest? I wonder why not. To feel thou owe the treasure. Yeah, Forrest said you have to earn it. Anybody, and that's what I said in my early videos, if you manage to somehow get this chest without going through all the things that you have to go through to understand what could be the answers, then you missed out on all the other stuff. You missed out on the important stuff. I don't know how you would have found the answers without finding it all, which is pretty much what Forrest was saying. You have to know what's worth knowing and what isn't worth knowing. No one has earned from what I know, and that's possibly true. I can't disagree with that. And only the finder knows. So the finder or the solver. So I believe that Forrest gave us at least 2 things to look for. Have to be 2 things. There has to be a simple, straightforward, simple solve, and a difficult but not impossible solve. But I also believe there's a diabolical thing that he did in there as well. And they're his words. It can't be a simple solve that people are going to think, why didn't I think of that? And then it be difficult but not impossible at the same time. Can't be. So if Jack's chess was a simple solve, what is a difficult but not impossible? And what is the diabolical stuff that was done? And why did Jack say, is this the chest that is in the Thrill of the Chase book, or whatever those words were? Because that chest is just gold that's in that book. So is that a different chest than the chest that Forrest was talking about? Those things that don't add up, well, they add up to me, but people are saying they don't add up. You have to question. And Forrest said, you have to think, what if? And you have to realise that nothing is what it seems, and those things that he said. No, you can't discount the first stanza. No, you can't discount the first stanza. And I've looked at that first stanza. I've even said that in that first stanza, it says, you greet Forrest with a handshake, reciting his poem backwards. That's what it says. Obviously, it says other stuff as well, but, there's a lot in that poem. Rain is warm on the plain. Hi, NFJ. Yeah, so while there were people, I'll read this. Star was shot with F-100, yeah. All us Europeans going from east. So the finder back east. From back east. Yes, it's amazing how you want to be a European now. Those words are key, but how do we do that? Well, Forrest said they don't mean what you think they do, so you have to look up those words, which is what he did. If you don't look up the words that Forrest Fenn looked up, then there's something wrong with the logic that you have. If Forrest says, I looked up all those words, and you don't look up all those words, what? If Forrest had to look them up to know what they meant, but you don't, sorry, I don't think you're going to get the right answer or the correct answer. Forrest looked up all those words. You don't need all the words won't take you there, but it's risky to ignore any of them. If I don't know what a word means, I don't use it. Right, so what he's saying is, here it is. Here's the word, but I want it to mean something else. Here's the word bluff. My father doesn't know what the word bluff means. Here's the word bluff. Now, I want it to mean something else because it's in my poem. So what can it mean? I'm not going to use the word bluff because I don't know what the bluff could mean. So I'll cast that aside, and now I'll see what bluff does mean. This is a word I can use, so I'll use that. And you don't have to change the poem because Forrest said it's not written down anywhere, it's in his head. So therefore it has to be in his head. That's what you're going to find. In his reverie, you may find the answer to all of those words that he looked up. But you have to look them up as well. And then try and think what Forrest was thinking. Or step into his shoes. Because without stepping into those shoes, you aren't going to find, you might find Jack. High spiritual or street. The non-finders are incapable. I was just begging earlier, so while there are more people in here. Non-finders, hang on, let me read these before they get away. Non-finders are incapable of. Non-finders. Well, it was there to aid the finder. So obviously, if you're a non-finder, it's not going to help you. Not the retriever or the seeker. Diabolical. So Forrest said he was diabolical. Why was he being diabolical? Well, I think if you open that chest, you're either going to laugh or cry. I think that was him being diabolical. That's not what he said was in there. That's exactly what he said was in there. It's the chest that was in the Thrill of the Chase book. Time on, hold on. You pray for these, not only. Yes, 160 words. Yes, exactly, they do. Guess how many of those words I looked up? Thousands and thousands and thousands. And I had to whittle down those words, like Forrest said, he did his whittling. I had to whittle them down. Because out of those thousands of words, there were some words that absolutely have nothing to do with what it is that's been spoken about. But there were some words that kept coming up over and over and over and over again. Different words, same synonyms. Different words, same synonyms. So out of those I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of words, I had to get it down to maybe 1,000 or two. And then out of those thousands, that 1,000, I had to get it down to hundreds. And out of those hundreds, I had to keep going. I had to keep whittling until it made sense. But that wasn't the only way to solve the poem. There's a simple solve. And there's a diabolical solve, and there's a difficult but not impossible solve. Now, there's two canopy of stars in the poem. That's where it's found, under two canopy of stars. So are they two different canopy of stars, or are they the same canopy of stars? There's more than one chest in the poem. So I started this stream eventually. Gotta go for a few. Yes, thanks, Amy. I might still be here. I might not. Hi, John. 10 words. I looked up less than 10 words in the poem. Yeah, but you might have had better information than me, John. You might have known the 9 clues that help. I think after all those thousands of words, if I knew the simple solve, I would have only looked up one word. No, 2 words. If I knew the simple solve after looking up all those other words. 2 words would have done it. What's it down? No. Literature and English, words that make sense. I started with as, worked out what that meant, at the same time. It even means when I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold. So he hadn't even gone in there. When I have gone alone in there. So I had to use all those words that were given to me by Forrest in the poem and rewrite the poem in my imagination so many times to try and work out what possibly could have been said, which is why I think it doesn't end at chest. Peace doesn't end at peace. So the fact that he said there was a simple solve and a difficult but not impossible solve, and that he was diabolical, and that he said secret treasure, made me believe, well, hang on, here's a chest that he talked about, but there's something else because that's secret. So that secret treasure doesn't hasn't got the same constraints to 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe because it's secret. He hasn't told us about that. You have to find that. You have to work that out. So that treasure could be anywhere. San Lazaro, China, Vietnam, space, could be anywhere because Forrest hasn't told us about it. It's a secret. So you have to solve the poem in order to find out those answers. You have to try and understand what's been said. So that is the difficult but not impossible. So you will get a simple solve and go, nah, why didn't I think of that? Or you will have to do a difficult but not impossible solve. Yeah, I wish I'd only looked up less than 10 words. The facts. Well, I agree with you in a sense, John, because one word becomes two words. So did you only need to look up one word to find the two words? And that, to me, that makes sense. So you look up one word to find two words. I mean, some of the words, you get one word and it could mean 4 or 5 words. Well, halt is a... So I was limited on the words that I could use. To use halt instead of walk. That was weird. When you have a word like balk. So balk and walk. So that's what started the journey into the substitute that Forrest said you would need. So, substitute is a synonym. So that started me on, along with, I looked up all the words in the dictionary. If I didn't know what a word meant, I wouldn't use it. But, well, you won't use that word, but you might use a different word that substitutes that word. Huckleberry Hound was a sleuth. Yes, you like that word, sleuth. Halt is a German word. Halt is a German word. And Forrest was stationed in Germany. Is that trade term or trade team? Oh, I was not good without my glasses. See, now, while that is easy enough to look up the word trade term, then there are many. It would be easier to look up a sentence than it would be to look up just 2 words. But I'll look them up. But that'd be like me saying, swap, season, and then it could be loads of other different things because there's no context to that. But I'll look it up and see what pops up. So like I said, I started this stream, like the breaking news is that Taylor Swift is good. In the poem it says that she's tripped over her dress hem to a running change. I think that's the word, running change. Don't worry, because she's good. To do with good seems like it's a hint to the poem, and so does Mercury in retrograde. Seems like it's a hint to the chase. So that information about her doing this, and it does say creator on TikTok, so somebody could have created that as a piece of fiction or truth, but I hope Taylor Swift is well if that did happen. But whichever way it works, it's a fact. While it might be fake fact, fake news, and I hope it is because I don't want her to be hurt. Even if it is fake news, Forrest wrote about this fake news in the poem and said it would be on night 2 at the Eras tour. on her left hand. Well, that's pretty precise. That's pretty precise, that is. This event would take place on night 2. That she would trip over her dress hem, her dress hem, while running a quick change. Them are strange words, but them are the words in the that talk about this event that happened. But it was wrote more than 13 years ago. Wow. Even the name of the tour, the name of the artist, who is not, well, if it's 13 years that it's been out, and she was 16, that's 29. If she was 16 when Forrest wrote this. And I believe it was wrote before then, 1995 maybe. So how old was she then? So for Forrest to know the name of this personality, and she would have this happen to her, this exact event happen to her, and her left hand, not her right hand or a knee or anything, and know the name of the tour, and know the night that it was on. Wow, that's some going, that is. Another name for have I seen that? Fixer, engineer, those sort of words. Solicitor, maybe. Lawyer. Not sure off the top of my head. Did he write? You would have to ask those in the know that one, Bill. Yeah, somebody mentioned that. Might have been you, Bill, that said that. Mercury. So Mercury wasn't in retrograde when he ate it. Holt tells the reader of the poem to change the word brown to brawn. Well, that was could have been Werner Braun, who did the Rockets. So been down that road, and got lots of information in regard to that brawn stuff. And yes, I agree with that. It's very possible that that's what was said. And that could be hydrogen related, and it could even be a leaky hydrogen thing that had issues with a launch, which was predicted in the poem by Forrest in regard to a event that was to take place but was delayed and predicted by Forrest in the poem. And that would go all the way back to that brown brawn that you were mentioning. Phoebe. Leaky was monkeys. There was a leak in the hydrogen doodah. I'm not a NASA scientist, but even that in the poem, people don't believe that you can find all the information in the poem, but in my imagination, none of the words are changed. I could leave the poem just because I show you the poem the way that I show you it. Doesn't mean that I can't leave the poem and still have information and souls from that, just by leaving the poem the way that it is and being in Forrest's reverie and try to imagine, which is more important than knowledge. So the words that I see are the knowledge that I have. That knowledge is there, it's in front of me, and I could use it. But if my imagination, or Forrest's imagination, is more important than the knowledge he gave me, because I'm using both, then maybe it's important to know what is worth knowing and what isn't worth knowing. Wow, Chase Inc. Hello, probably Tyler, but Hello. And that looks like a an all-seeing eye if ever there was one. Not a monkey. Thought we were all monkeys. This Darwin theory is useless, isn't it? Right, who's next door to right. See, Bill, sometimes you say the absolute right things, and then sometimes I think, hang on a minute. So this is where it gets interesting. Is like you see different names, and I think, hang on a minute, do I know this person or not know this person? Another name for a vehicle. I missed that. Another name for a vehicle. Oh, a welder. Sorry, a welder. Saw that. Steve was here 2020. Hi, Steve. How you doing? That's the first time I've seen you in here, isn't it? Which is a good thing because I thought you only visited like Barbara and Cape Road. So thank you very much. It's good to have you here. So, and it's always good to have people that will question the people who question. So if everybody agrees with everybody, then we will only get one point of view. It's that simple. If we all agree, we'll get one point of view. And while we all agree that that's the right thing, it doesn't make it right or correct. It just means that we all agree. We all agree about the same thing. Great. And yet we're missing out on everything else that, what if it was this? What if it was that? I believe Forrest to, and that's whoever, Major Forrest Burke Fenn is. And that was another thing stated, major. It was a major thing that happened to Taylor. It's like, hang on a minute, you're telling us major Mercury in retrograde. And it was good. It's like you're just basically talking about Chase. And that lends credence to people saying that Taylor Swift have yet to visit the Curling. So, wow. So that takes me to Deadwood now. Possibly, potentially, maybe. With that statement. If I understand it. If I understand that. But then that would, well, out front. There has to be, there's only one person out front, isn't there? I don't know the Cody Museum that well, but I'm sure there's only one person outside there. One statue. Not sure what the laugh out loud was. So the intention was to do a Zoom, and I apologise that there's not a Zoom, but I can't afford one. I'm not going to pay £150 to do a show, one show. I can't justify it. It wouldn't be fair to, while I'm doing something that I enjoy doing, it wouldn't be fair to use £150 of money that could be used elsewhere. It's a place I would love to go and see, but then there are many places I would love to go and see in America, which don't think I will. You always confuse me, don't you, John? Seventh husband. That's some going. 300 foot belly high grass. Yeah. So, how high was the grass in Vietnam? Is this the meadow you were talking about? Or you talk about the D meadow? So that D meadow was, as I've said already, in a video game with this wolf going around and I was going all over the place. I don't know how I ended up on that. I absolutely don't know how I ended up on that. But that was very interesting. And along with that led me to B.A. Lance, the lone wolf in Wyoming or something, which was from the word balance. And it's like all these things seem to fit. And that's why everybody's soul seems to fit, because they're probably meant to fit. It's meant to be information that it's supposed to find. But if you find it in the poem and take it outside of the poem, it seems to work, which is very weird. Because if the poem is all you need, then it should just say, my treasure was, or is, my treasure is at such and such a place. That's it. That's all it should say. That's all you need to know. So if the poem's going to tell you in some way, shape, or form, it should basically say, go here, do this. That's what you're looking for. That's exactly what should happen. Or it'll say, this event will happen, then this event will happen, and this event will happen. And then you find out that the poem's a bit more than that. It will tell you about, the stars in the sky, the conjunctions, where the moon will be at certain points, Capricorn, Aquarius, Moon, Aries, Pisces, how they affect each other. And it's like looking at a map of the heavens or looking at a map on the earth. That's how the poem is. And it could give you a timeline. It could tell you about butterflies and moths. It can tell you about the names of planets, tell you all sorts of stuff. And it's very believable and it's very methodical. And it's crazy. And it even talks about, playing chess, playing tag, playing cards, Scrabble, all sorts of things that you wouldn't, unless you thought, what if, you would never, ever, ever, ever do. But it was fun playing chase with Forrest. It was fun looking for Forrest. A bit like, where's Waldo? Where's Forrest now? I went in circles chasing my own tail. It's spelled right as well. Ball string, how about a string? Amy. Half truths. Half to over it. So if you didn't chase your tail, you weren't in the chase. If you didn't go over and over, that was the whole point. Forrest said you had to do that. You had to go over and over, go round and round. He said it even himself. He was going in circles. So if you weren't doing the same sort of things, if you were going to understand Forrest, you had to do what Forrest did. You had to. You had to try and be another Forrest. Now that's impossible, because the only reason we're able to do anything like what Forrest did is because he's told us how to do it. That was the teaching. That was in the book. Jumpstart the learning curve. Teach us with ropes. The long ride home. Golden One. There's 2 pages in the book. 147, 146, 147. Probably just talking about, the place or a place or a reason as to why, there is an answer or how there is an answer. Did you throw your watch in that field? String of stories. That sounds bad. Hi, Sophia. Or Sophia. Sophia. String of stories. Stories equals lies. Yeah, but story sounds better, doesn't it? It's important to the story. So what is it better to say it's important to the story or it's important to the lie? Street, road to victory. Well, but he could cross that street anytime he wanted. The dumb curb. And he was leading us to the bears. He told us he was. Holding a Winchester from it. Don't shoot me. Oh, okay, it's not working. Okay. Just point it down the camera and shoot. You haven't missed anything, Sophia. See. So basically, I was just saying, the poem talks about Taylor Swift getting hurt, and it was Mercury retrograde coded. She tripped over a hem dress, hurt her left hand, etc., etc. Don't worry, she's good. So it doesn't say those words, but that's basically what it says in the poem. So how is that possible? How could I read that on night 2 this was going to happen? She was going to trip over a hem dress, and this was going to happen. And I try and point out that whether it's real or not, it doesn't matter. It's all over the internet, or will be all over the internet, and people will read it as a fact. But it does say, the creator. So somebody created it. Maybe it's a bit of deep fake stuff, but it's still a real event. It still happened. How is that possible? What's all over the internet? Well, I don't know that it is all over the internet, but I would assume that it will be all over the internet. That Taylor Swift, on night 2 of the Eras tour, while running a quick change, tripped over a headdress and cut her left hand. But that in the poem will be a factual statement. And because it's Taylor Swift, it will be, I would assume, on the internet as something happened. I would assume that is the case. And, whoever created that news, it says the creator, whoever created that had an intention. If it's real, like I say, I want Taylor Swift to be fine, but I'm hoping that it was just created for the chase. I'm hoping that's what it was. So that was the breaking news that I put on the top of my thing. It's basically, in the poem it says this is on, well, I hope it is all over the internet or on the internet. Everything. We're on the internet. We're here now, live on the internet. So what I'm trying to get across is, Forrest put this information there, and he's asked the question, can I affect the future? And has the ability to write into the poem certain events that take place in the time that the chase is running. Now, that includes timeline of events with, what happens in the solar system. And at this point in time, Pluto is, coming back, which is as it was, when America had the Declaration of Independence, and Captain Cook was, entering Australia, which is a time of big change in the world. So is that time of big change going to happen again? Is Pluto back? Now, Pluto is, the destroyer, basically. And, Aquarius is bringing the good times. So is it like the forest fire? Do you have to have the bad to bring out the good? Does the fire have to ravage everything and it looks horrible? A bit like the chase. We've had the fire, everything looks black and dirty and dusty, but at some point, those trees will sprout, those flowers will grow, that grass will grow, the animals will return, and it'll be a beautiful place like it was before. So, hopefully the chase will enter that phase. It won't be the dark, charred remains of the forest. It'll be a new forest. I don't mean Forrest Fenn, I mean a new forest. Similar to lumberjack in the 146 page and Thrill of the Chase. The Jack cut down the forest, which is maybe Forrest Fenn, and he's looking at the moon, which may hold a lot of information, and that may be Forrest himself who's cut himself down. Time for me to go, sort of thing. Uh-oh, who's getting grounded? Me? What have I done? I was here all the time. Don't cross the street. Which street? The street that was in here. The Spiritual Journey Street. Well, me and Dave will talk about that today or yesterday, or you're probably today, Mike probably yesterday. Well, I'm 5 minutes into the new day now, so my yesterday. That there's no K-Pro, there's no Ben. Street hasn't really done one for a while. Why must I go? I haven't done one. We lost AGK and Sasha and those people ages ago, and it's like the lull before the storm, the quiet before the storm, whatever. I don't say that's what it is. I'm just saying, what if that is the case? So if you missed it, I was talking about, I say things. I try to say stuff without saying anything. So I made a statement that Josh brings negativity, and I think he took that to mean that he wasn't a very nice person, or that he was negative, and that's not what I meant, or not what I said. I said that he was not a searcher. Us searchers, we are the positive in the chase, and he was a negative because he is the only one that isn't a searcher. So he says, I was not searching. And he did something that, Forrest said couldn't be done. He stumbled on the chest while not searching. So he says he's not a searcher. He stumbled on the chest, and yet his soul is in the poem the same as everybody else, in the same place. So it's hard. It's not a case of believing or not. It's a case of me trying to understand the information that I get. So I said to Forrest, I don't know who's who. It's hard to give out information when I don't know, Forrest is really Forrest. Is he somebody playing somebody? Because of all the people that are in the poem. And those people, I've said before, Toby, Shelley, Barbara Reese, Barbara Anderson, Douglas Preston, Forrest Fenn, Dale Neitzel, Sasha, Cynthia, all of these people were in the poem, and it's like, hang on a minute, how are all these people in the poem? How did Forrest know all of these people? And then obviously, my name's in there as well, and I'm thinking, what's going on? How is this possible? How can I get this information and it not be correct, not be true? And if it's true, then who is really who? And then you look in, a chat, and you see all these names in chat, and they're synonyms of the names that Forrest used as words. And I'm thinking they've just taken this name, or they've taken a name out of the poem and used it, or they've taken a word that is a synonym and used it as their name. And then those names changed. So, we have people like Kurt Gowdy, Little Rock. Those people come and go, and they may still be here under a different name. But those names crop up, and I'm like, who are these people in relation to the big names that I read? The Alison in charge of Walmart. Those people. Than these billionaires, not these people that you don't know, but billionaire names and billionaire companies in the poem. And I'm thinking, what's this got to do with somebody hiding a $1 million chest in the Rocky Mountains? So that sort of information threw me bit, and I was like, I don't know what to say to people now. So I was trying to give the person I thought to be Forrest, who put his email and his telephone number out there, and I thought, well, that's weird. I was trying to give information, hoping that he'd answer and say that's got nothing to do with it, but this has, So I knew that I was not that I was right, but that he was who he was claiming to be, but he never did. So I was never, even though I thought it was Forrest and believed, wholeheartedly that it was only when I was really into the chase for a long time and people started saying, I was happy with myself, I wasn't going to do anything else, it was done. But people went, Forrest is a liar, Forrest is a fraud, he's done this and he's done that, and then it just carried on. And I was like, no, there's information in the poem that tells you that Forrest is doing something that's good, and that you people are all involved. So why are you saying all these horrible things? Don't cross it, done that. Geo Nut, there you go. Is that you, Geo Nut? Yeah. So 2 now. So my head goes. Oh, I've got to. Thanks, Wig, for coming in. I appreciate you. Listening to me waffle about stuff that probably doesn't really interest you, but I appreciate you being here. Thanks. Be safe. Take care. So yeah, so 2 takes my head to different places. So to coin a phrase, hopefully you understand what that means, and obviously chase 2, and there's another one I can't think of it now. Little Rocky, just yeah, just it doesn't surprise me. I have to admit that it does not surprise me in the least. So me and Davey sort of like look, and we see names. Say, oh, that must be so and so, and that must be so and so, and that must be so and so. But we're never 100% sure, obviously. But that's how it's been, like 3 years ago. Probably more than that now, because it was just before this time, 3 years ago. I was saying to Forrest, I'm happy with myself. I'm stopping searching. I said to David, the solve's a solve. It doesn't matter. If you're changing your solve, if you're adding and taking stuff away from your solve and trying to refine it and do other stuff, then I don't believe that can be, what the answer is supposed to be. I think once you've found what you're supposed to find, that's it. You can't do nothing else about it. All you can do is look in the poem and find more information that can confirm or reaffirm what it is that you think, or give you a timeline and tell you where you are within a given point. So right now, it's possible that warm water's whole right now. Is it now? Yeah, could be now. So we could be in that phase. We could be, the goal could be on somewhere. So I said to David that according to the poem, according to Forrest, sorry, and the poem, it's waiting for a clump of a boot. So that's where my head was. It's waiting for the clump of a boot. There's nothing else it can do. It's waiting for a clump of a boot. That's it. But there was information that we got that made it seem like, that might not be the case. That it's not waiting for the clump of a boot. But, there is a different type of boot that is up there somewhere. The last beer. Morning, all. Morning, hear me all. Hi, Davey B. Did you see that, JT? Davey? What JT said? Just above you? Not surprised, are you? But then, you'd go back from who was he before that? So who was Kurt and who was the other names that we had? The hand of God, hand justice comes from Athena extending her hand while the olive branch of peace, with the olive branch of peace, go in peace. So I can't disagree with Athena at all. Oh, vivid. So I looked at your video. It was very interesting. It was difficult to pick out because the colours for me seem to just like blend in, but I did watch it, and there was like too many squares, the big squares. So I was taking my eyes off what I'm supposed to be looking at. But I'm going to look at it again because, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, it was just that it was. I don't know if the resolution was not as good as YouTube normally puts out, but the colours were like too light for me. There wasn't, and I'm used to doing it in capital letters, so I was trying to focus on the little letters. And it was a bit harder for me to do than it is mine. But that's because I'm used to doing mine, so it's not your fault. It's mine. Yeah, I don't doubt any of that. It's just that's what I'm saying. It was just difficult for me to like focus on. It seems compared to mine, it just seems small, and I'm used to those bright letters that I use in it. So yeah, I'm very interested in what you had there. How do all these people know Forrest, or how does Forrest know all these people? So Forrest knew all these people, and I talk with Taylor Swift and Daniel Barbarisi, Jonathan Stoof. These people were kids when this chase started, or and then I got cancer. To me that's an important statement. And what everybody thought was terminal cancer. What do you mean everybody? The doctor thought it was terminal cancer. Why does it matter what everybody thought? So are you saying something different there? So cancer, what is that? Is it Capricorn cancer? Is that what you're saying, or something else? So with every statement, I was thinking, well, what if this and what if that and what if the other? And you couldn't rule anything out. So I ended up with astrology because that was a synonym of one of the words. So you had to look up the astrology. You had to look up the Holy Grail. You had to look up all of these things if you had metal and resolve to do that, and then you have to eliminate them. Now, by eliminating them, I don't mean rule them out. I mean put them in their right category. And most of them fitted in the place I tell you in the poem. So the category was, it's a good solution, offered as a good solution, as far as said. So therefore, everybody who has a chest is right and should, in my opinion, get something. But you had to look not behind, past that. Because Forrest said, does anybody know about my secret treasure? Well, this treasure that you've plastered everywhere is not secret. So no, we don't know about your secret treasure, but I am interested. Let me have a look at the poem and I'll see what you're saying about it. Boots, yes, those boots. Thanks, Moni. It's great to read you and see your smile. All the big companies. Well, we have theories about that. We have theories about that. Why all the big companies is coming down. So, and while I can't disagree with anything that you say, live it. Even if I agreed with everything that you said, it won't make me or you correct. All that will make us. Forrest said the treasure's been found. So therefore, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. Treasure's been found. And then this is playing out in whatever way is designed. Nothing we can do. Nobody can change anything. Nobody could alter anything. It will end when something ends it. And whether that's a Hollywood ending or something else. is irrelevant. What's relevant is that Forrest makes it happen the way that it's supposed to, and then he is no longer the asterisk. He will be remembered for this amazing thing. And I don't mean, I wish I could have lived to do the things I was attributed to. I don't mean that. I mean, Forrest will be remembered. And there's another issue. So Lorraine Mills says, who is the real Forrest Fenn? And Forrest says, I hope nobody ever finds out. So therefore, I have to say that I hope the person who Forrest wants to be remembered as is remembered. Whoever Forrest wants to be remembered, because he said he hopes nobody ever find out. So who is the person that put the hairs in the chest so as people know what fool abandoned it? Well, we know what fool it was because you wrote the book and you gave interviews and whatever else. So that's not the reason you put those hairs in there. If indeed you put hairs in there, or it was just to say to the finder, here in the poem, read this. The chest is wet, read this. Toe to toe, read this. Hope out with depression, read this. Did the hot water affect Tina? Read this. The chest has not moved in the 10 years since. Read this. Leave your friend in the car, read this. All of that information is in the poem. All of it. And it's there to aid the finder, not the seeker. So therefore, the finder will understand everything that Forrest is saying and will understand the events that happen in the chase that have been predicted by Forrest, whether he affects them or they happen naturally or however it's meant to be. I'll read that again. Notice that good and wood. Yeah, the problem with the poem is they all make sense. It is all perfect. And Forrest tried to think of everything. So whilst I had, I don't know how many souls I had, but they were perfect. And Amy put one in there just earlier, Den and Daniel and Rawlings and East End Road. It was a brilliant soul. There's even a penguin in part of it, but it's like, this is brilliant soul. This has got to be it. And then I looked at it and went, oh, hang on a minute. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? So I had lots of souls and I had to discount these brilliant souls, even typing in, number 1111. And, there's my answer. It's done. It's a green door. And they couldn't be wrong. They couldn't be wrong. And then I had to look at the information that Forrest gave me and I went, oh, hang on a minute. Above 5,000 feet, below 10,200 feet, oh, crumbs. It's, 4,000 something. But then I realised that maybe, it's in my head, it's not on the computer. Maybe they're different things. Maybe this simple solve that, you're going to think, why didn't I think of that? Is different than the impossible solve, the difficult but not impossible solve. Maybe it's different than that solve. Maybe it's different than him being diabolical. So then I have to put them in different categories and have different answers. Click clop. Got a lot of nights, yeah, with no arms or legs. Second chest is out there. The code is never. I made the code for David Bryan for all the recent. Wow, I like that. I like that. So I had a triangle, so you've got slightly different variation on that. So I looked at it in the sense that there were three places. There was Texas, Wyoming, and New Mexico that Forrest, would talk about and had to love at some point or other. So how could he combine all of those together? How could he show his appreciation for all of those places? So I was looking at that, and there was also a 9 Mile hole, and all sorts of things. But yeah, I can't disagree with that. Big companies. What big companies? So right in the middle is NASA. That's probably one of the biggest. Boeing, Walmart, the list goes on. Just look in the poem, you'll see them all. And not only are the companies' names in there, but the people who own them are in there. And it's like, what? Why are they there? So, did they sponsor the chase? And, are you people in chat, some of these people? And therein was the issue with, trying to tell Forrest something. Whoever, Forrest Fenn may be, was Forrest just the front person, like Jack is the front person or whatever, or was Forrest real? Or so, bear in mind, I wasn't in the chase long, and I was emailing Forrest, and I regretted it because I felt like I'd emailed him too many times with his only response that wasn't thank you, and that was like happy birthday or something, those sort of things. But I was hoping that if I said something out of the poem, as the poem was read, which is what he said, tell me what the poem reads, then hopefully he would answer back and say, cool, yeah, well done, that's it. But he didn't. I was like, oh, crikes. So I just have to keep going, look at everything. Know what to do, where is the task? Was concerned with who he was, should. He did put forward his recognition. Ah, hello, Frank. It's nice to read you. Yeah, you keep throwing me loads of different ways you do. I don't know, I have to wonder. I see you driving to work as a normal worker, and yet I find it hard to believe that that's the case. But so somebody asked me once if there was going to be an auction when the Heritage auction was on, but there's also another auction that could have taken place with more important stuff, and that auction was for a lot more. Alabama. Oh, Susanna. Won't you wait for me? That was in chat the other day. Oh, Susanna was the gold. Just, yeah, that's like a Forrest Fenn statement. So that's my statement when I talk to Davey. If you had a good map, you could. You, you could look at the stars and you could look at Earth and still be able to say where you're going, or where these things are. You could find them. If you knew where the moon was at any given time, you would know the planets that were going to be there. It's like crazy, but you could do it. Or any continent, even. Yes, any continent. Davey, you're in Perth. You're at such and such a beach. Yeah, I agree with that, John. Life is getting in the way. I wish I could travel, but finances and life are getting in the way. And a job. Fishing. There was a Kennedy auction at the same time. Thanks for the show. I'm about to go and hand the bank teller a note. Is it an IOU? All notes are IOUs, apparently. I will pay the bearer on demand. I could do with a password, actually. A bank that a password would fit. That would help. Thanks for coming here, Steve. What's he going to tell? A bank teller? Is he telling about banks? Funny words, aren't they? I'm going to hand the bank teller. So he's going to tell about banks. Oh, steak dinner. A date. The flag of Alabama snacks. 2003. So, I've probably already said this, but what if Forrest did, lots of chases, and they would just go on and on and on and on until, people realised that Forrest did all of these things and lived to do the things he was attributed to. Oh, as long as it's not when hell freezes over, we're all right, Bill. So, if Pluto does bring about this change, it's going to be a big change for, us inhabitants of the earth. And in a way, it's hard to know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So, if you imagine in 1776, I suppose, for those that settled in Australia, it was a good thing. But for the people who were imprisoned over there, it was a bad thing. And for the Declaration of Independence, and the Americans and the British, probably for the British not so good, for the Americans good, but then for the Native Americans, probably not so good. So, change is, in the eye of the beholder. It's either good or bad, depending on what side of the fence, you are standing. But if there is change, then I hope that, everybody that I know, including these in the chase and, people that I know here and around the world, I hope it's a good thing for them. I hope everybody gets a break, as it were. Breakfast included. Davey, what are you doing? Yeah, so somebody asked me once if I was going to do the golden owl and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I wonder if all these are connected. I wonder if a book about a treasure hunt has Forrest Fenn written over it. And it might not be, I do believe that Forrest was sincere. And that's another thing that he said, if the try is sincere. So what is the try? Or deserve another turn? What is the turn? But I think he was sincere when he said, look forward to new discoveries. And I don't mean the court cases discoveries, but if he was trying to protect the finder, then he would try to ensure that every possible avenue had been explored. Every possible avenue had to be explored, including a finder who was not searching. Could be an avenue that Forrest would have thought of. So if somebody found the chest he wasn't searching, what would the implications of that be? And how would that affect the finder, in the long term? So there are many, 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 many souls. And it seems that anybody who found the chest is screaming that they found the chest without mention of anything else. And to me, that doesn't make sense, because if you looked at the poem, you'd see that there's obviously a discrepancy between take the chest and go in peace, and you could change the top bit to when I've gone alone in there. And the bottom bit says, and if you are brave and in the wood, I'll give you title to the gold. So you found the gold. You've gone. There's no need to be given title to anything. And you're never given title to gold. Unless it's a mine. You won't be getting title for the gold unless it's something not gold. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but if you are braving in the wood, if you are braving in the wood, so when you are braving in the wood, or when I've gone alone in there, or why is it that I must go? Those things only make sense when you know that this poem is not about the chest that you found and went in peace. So if you only look for a chest and you only found a chest, then you did half of what was expected and were in the right place doing the right thing, but maybe not correct, because Forrest said you need a correct soul. Why would he say that? Why would he say that? It has to be because there's a different soul. So starting with looking for the chest that you hid and looking for the secret treasure, two different statements. Staying in that thought, it's a simple solve. When you find out the answer, you're going to think, why don't I think of that? It's a difficult but not impossible solve. So each time you pick up information that Forrest gives you, he's telling you, well, there's something different. I'm talking about something different now. In my opinion, again, I could be wrong, but I believe that Forrest was honest with everything that he said. He just said it in a way that didn't make any sense at all unless you thought about it. So yeah, I watched King's something or other, King's Church, talking about Forrest Fenn, basically saying a man found some treasure in a field, and then he re-hid the treasure in the same field, and went home and sold everything that he owned, and went back and bought the field, and that is the kingdom of heaven. Once you find it and it's yours, then you give up everything else for it. Something like that. I think you would. Thank you, Amy. I think I'm correct, but I might be wrong. I have what they call confirmation bias. So Forrest was in his reverie. Isn't that where we should be? If everything is in his head and not on a computer, why would Forrest tell us about his reverie? And what does reverie mean? And why do you have to find the end of his rainbow and the treasure? Why those statements? And that's something that I said to Davy John. It wasn't about, I don't want to find everything. I didn't want to find everything. I wanted to solve the poem and help Forrest make it work. And then whatever was my due, I would accept. But I don't want to find lots and lots and lots and lots of things. So my concern was, if Forrest says you're a failure if you die with more than $50 in your pocket, and the family aren't going to get an inheritance or whatever, he's not going to give them it because he doesn't want to give them too much. It's like, I don't feel good taking money off other people like that. When I first started it, I was expecting like $1 million, and that it wouldn't bother me if it was $600,000, and it wouldn't bother me if it was $60 billion. Either wouldn't bother me, but the more it was, the more I would be able to give some back without worrying about the consequences to myself. Because while I was initially in this to find that chest and quit work and everything, it wasn't about that in the end. It was about making it work, and I don't think it is the chest. That was not the issue. I think there's something else. So what does Forrest want doing? And can I help Forrest to do that? And then if Forrest said, look, yeah, because you did this, you can have this, then good. If he did what it was that he wanted doing, then that's good as well. I still have that same wish. I still want money that means that I don't have to go to work, means that my family can live well, that they don't have to worry about struggling in the same way that I struggled. I still want those things, but if I don't have those things, it doesn't. It's not the end of the world for me. So whoever helps Forrest do what he wanted to do, is all right by me, and I wish them all the best. And Davy B says the same. You know, as much as we want, I don't know. I don't even know if we want recognition. As much as we want, Davy probably not in the same boat as me. In a poorer situation than I'm in. Would love to have, you know, $1 million in Australia. I don't know what that is. In some countries, a million of something is nothing. But yeah, $1 million is better than 50, I suppose. If that's the statement, dying with $50 in your pocket, you're a failure. That's where I was going. I was put there. Day after being for AI search, there is a cipher in the poem that Forrest put there. So I think you can find it in Forrest's Reverie if you imagine what Forrest imagined, because it's not associated with a man-made structure. So therefore, in your imagination, it becomes more important than the knowledge. The knowledge comes from man, but your imagination is just anything that you pick up along the way. You know what I mean? It's not, and you're not picking it up from you. You're picking it up from something else, someone else. So it's just out there in the cosmos, and it must be earned. So yeah, a bit like my wages, because 20 to 1, and I've got to be up in 4 hours. So it won't be much longer with this. 5 leaf layers I've encoded in the poem that astounds me. No way. It's a coincidence. Yes, absolutely. But everybody has a soul. That's what I'm saying. These souls are absolutely real, and they're all good solutions. For I said they were. Head pressures, Bible verses, blah blah blah. They're all meant, in my opinion, meant to be found. Are you a ghostwriter, Sophia? Will you ghostwrite for me? My brother's actually a writer. He's put lots of books out. Look him up, Tony Marchirano. I suppose there's a what's the name one as well. They're for open-minded people. Yeah. So, hi, Lulu girl. It's good to see you. Is that the yellow submarine going down that river? Yes, it does. Absolutely. You're right there, Frank. But how long can you keep struggling? And while it builds character, it's not easy to see it in your family and stuff like that. Work is not for all of the world. Yeah, but like I say, it's how long you can go on that, because pain is not enjoyable to me, definitely. So that sort of struggling. Well, to be fair, I've retired. I retire in September because I find it hard to do the things that I used to do easily, and I don't want to make worse what is already getting bad. That's how I was feeling my work was. We're not going to pay you if you're off ill. You can't have a holiday now. Suffer. Come in or not get paid. Oh, back to the web weaving. DD. Solve the riddle. Yeah, and that's going towards a simpler solve. Yeah, I do appreciate that, but like I say, long term struggle is not good for anybody's mental health. Poverty. I'm not claiming poverty, but Forrest said it would be nice to be comfortable. You don't need too much, but it'd be nice to be comfortable, and I agree with that. It'd be nice to be comfortable without having to force yourself to do stuff that you shouldn't be doing because it's not good for you. I was awful in English. Yeah, I'm awful in English. I have to admit, I don't do commas and full stops and exclamation mark. Well, everything's got an exclamation mark that I write now. Because that's how I feel. So I write stuff as I think it. So now I would put a comma, stop, and then carry on. But it probably doesn't need one. No pain, no gain. Well, Forrest said you'd have to earn it. I feel there was a lot of pain in what some of the people in the chase did. Not everybody. Some people just came up with a quick fix. Like, I saw Forrest at this place and he was on the floor and put the chest in the car. That sort of soul is not. There's no pain and no gain there. Fate is largely unnecessary. Akin to the way. Is that poaching in City Park? Yes, I'm 60. So, I have an issue with when I'm standing, I get ulcers on my ankles. So I have to wear stockings to get the blood going. I've got blood thinners, but it's painful. It's very painful. And in my job, I'm like on my feet. It's a 10-hour day, so I get two half-hour breaks, and the circulation doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So it's like somebody like sticking a cigarette in your ankle, burning your ankle all the time. And it got to the point where it was like a hot poker. It was big, and I was in pain, a lot of pain. So I don't want that to come back and happen again. That really does hurt. Yeah, see, those are things I didn't think of. It wasn't Netflix was never something that I thought about. I think I got so involved with just looking up the words and trying to understand what Forrest was saying, and not believing the rubbish that was coming out. I didn't spend much time to actually think about what if being the finder or the solver actually happened. What all that went along with that. That wasn't something I was focused on or even thought about. Well, their cover is blown. It's just that if they're all famous actors, it doesn't matter, does it? Like if only three, not famous actors, but actors. If everybody is involved and everybody is obviously, if Clint Eastwood is there, everyone go, oh, it's Clint Eastwood. It's not bothered. We know he's acting. So they must have been able to get by somehow. Out of the 350,000 who actually went searching, the only people left seem to be, actors. Now, I'm not an actor, even though Fenn thinks that, I'm getting paid. I don't know why he thinks that. David B's not an actor. If he is, he's a good one, and he's, fooled me. Lou Lee seems like she knows Happy Memorial Weekend, everyone. Like she knows some stuff. But I don't know if she's an actor. Who's trying to get in where? Well, I don't know. Smart searchers. Don't ask questions. Trying to get happy. Remembering all things. Forrest. Well, I agree with that sentiment, Lily. On my best. Good being. So, why is Bud Light or Budweiser or anything Bud heavily spoke about? Also, I think I know who. Why do you say things like that, John? Drank it in the cooler. So that bottle was in the water, wasn't it? One of those bottles. Was it a bottle or a can that you put in the water to keep it cool or something? Forrest did. Yeah, the real thing. So there are some people that I think and I could be wrong. So you could absolutely be an actor, actress, person, whatever. But for me, it didn't really matter that people were acting. It was just trying to work out who was in charge, as opposed to who was trying to do something as much for the South as they were for Forrest. So it seemed like, what if these people had a bet or a dare, and that part of that dare was all of this that's going on? Then what would be the best thing for a smart person to do? So it was listen to what Forrest said for me, and then see who says something back. And I'd watch the chat, and it'd be like, how do they know? How do they know that if they're not searching? Because there are some people like John, Geonut, Little Rock, who don't come on and say, I think the solve is this. I've been here searching and I think it's this. They just give information or, respond to information. But they never say, I'm the finder, I found it, I know where it is. They just get involved. So the people like Hooley, seems to be able to put a hand on any piece of information that's needed. And it's like, no way. There is no way. That is some bookkeeping, that is. So, I tend to, while I think of them as nice people, I tend to think, what is their role? What is their role in this? No. Find a fountain. Find a fountain. Took off. So, I don't know if you talk about you, Sophia, or me, or whoever the finder is, if you know. I think if you find the recipe, so you need the catalyst, don't you, to get everything, whatever the statement is that Forrest made. Once you're there, then it's easy to have a conversation about the poem without anybody knowing that you're having a conversation about the poem. If that makes sense. So there was a table that Willie was at, and I thought Forrest was there too, possibly laughing. So as I said earlier, where's Waldo? The whole point was, Forrest said, I dare you to come find me. And nobody did. And that shocked me. It's like nobody's trying to find Forrest. It's like, you're only bothered about the chest. Forrest is gone, and you're still only bothered about the chest. But what if Forrest did throw himself on that chest? Then if you find Forrest, you find potentially, possibly, maybe. But it's like they're not even sparing a thought for Forrest now. They're just, Jack did this, and this is not fair, and I'm the solver, and I should have this, and the family are breaking the law, and it's fraud. And I just no. Well, they could be right, and I could be totally incorrect. But there's too much information that says I'm more likely to be correct about Forrest Fenn and the family and the lawyer and everything else, Barbara, whoever else is in the chase. I'm more likely to be correct about that than people are saying that they're fraud and, Charlotte's this, Forrest is that, they owe me this and they did this. I think I've got more to back up the fact that Forrest and the family are honourable than they've got that they're not. in my opinion, and probably David B's as well. Some are porn. See, it's when you do things like that, Bill. I think he might even be, you know, Douglas's brother or something, or Forrest's brother. So, like I say, they absolutely, ciphers in the poem, but it doesn't make it a correct solution, just a good solution, which is no different than mine or anybody else's. Who knows where the motherfucker is? So, I mean, you could look in the poem and try and find that, if that's what the poem says. There's one part that says, where was it? Where the chickens were. Is it Fort Worth? Where were the chickens? Oh, I can't remember that now. God damn it. Oh, Willie done this. We know you're Willie. That was the whole point. Sometimes you say the right things and sometimes you don't. Truth is, I don't want to know who I am. Well, it's not that I don't want to know. You don't go to Greece for no reason. Still 13, Shargo. Well, no, I think, I don't know, maybe. I think the best way to understand the person who's catching you is to get caught and let him throw you back. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what's all this about? And the only way you're going to know what it's like on the outside is to go on the outside. Forrest said, if you don't go to the edge, how will you know? So I think I'm not saying me, all right, I'm just saying the person who is going to do this has to get caught. Has to say, hey man, this bloke's smart. He's throwing the right lure out and everything, and he's doing all the right stuff. So let me go and check out this person and see who he is, what he's got, and then you get caught, and you know that he's going to throw you back, so it doesn't matter. You might have a sore lip, but in my opinion, it's better the devil you know. You know what I mean? It's no good hiding from what is eventually the truth. With that, false information. Still, still. Well, I believe it could be you, but if it's you, you have to understand why this is happening. It's happening for a reason, and if it's you, it's happening to protect you. So if you turn around and say that Forrest Fenn is a fraud and the family are a fraud, that's not helping you. If you're the solver, the whole point is, if it was you and Josh Jordan has a case, then if you're the solver and you're supposed to get it, you wouldn't get it anyway, because Josh Jordan would hold you up in court forever and ever and ever. And so would Billy, and so would Street, and so would whoever else solved it. So surely it's not worth you admitting that you found anything until there's nobody out there who has claim to anything. That's how I see it. Nobody's saying that you're wrong. They just think that they're more right than you. Noted. You're the one gaining ground. Well, those bullies seeing how high people can bounce is not good. There's no fun in that, to be watching that. So, it isn't about, while I agree with what you're saying, John, it's not about whether you can give somebody a sore lip or not. It's just about, at the end of the day, this is going to work, hopefully, in the best way that Forrest wanted it to work. And then all will be resolved in the best way that it should be resolved. with promise of new discoveries. Everybody, as much as can be possible, being okay with what's been said and done. Well, okay, so Phil, nicely said. No, I watched Billy Jack. What are you lot on about? What are you? What? I suppose you had to be watching it in that time. So I watched the second one, and for a bit of it, it was like a documentary where they were singing, and you know, I understand the meaning and everything behind it, but it was like it wasn't even acting. It was like they were just there um, watching these people do some street acting and stuff. So I was expecting like Bruce Lee stuff, and to be fair, there was some of that there, but it was a bit weird. So I might have to watch the other Billy Jacks to know what you're saying. Well, hi, Galaxy. Well, I hope you don't think that's what I think. It's not about. I don't think that I'm superior than anybody. I just. um, I think you have a great mind, Galaxy. To be fair, while you're here, I'll tell you. Some of the stuff you say and do is like, wow, this person knows what he's talking about. It's a shame you don't go on more Zooms and speak more. I understand that five leaf. There's some things, but I won't. Lily, you know lots of things, not some things. You, I'll, I'll go so far as to say you're closer than who closer. How can I explain it? You're closer than a work colleague, so you know some stuff, but you know a lot of stuff. Flies and when I read some of the stuff, it's like what? Thanks, Sophie. No, the reason you're unpaid is so no one can sue you. That's the point. Once you're paid, then everyone can sue you. That's the point, I believe. Because you're unpaid, nobody can sue you at the moment. Until there is no one that can sue you, you will remain unpaid if you are the solver. I think that's best for you and best for everyone. So until the point that there is nobody that can sue you, it's better for you to remain unpaid. That's just how I see it anyway. And I could be wrong, been wrong before. Brian Galaxy and Jason had a good show the other night. Was that Jason Northface? I haven't heard of him for a while. He's quite intelligent. He's another person that looks, fairly well off. Everybody looks fairly well off, to be fair, compared to me and Davey B. Yeah, I think Brian's a clever person. I think Galaxy helps in that. I haven't watched all of the show, but I didn't need to anyway. I could watch the 5 or 6 Josh Jordan videos and see what he thought about it while watching it. Super Dave, I've got the states. Yeah, I watched that and just while I wouldn't say that he's incorrect, if he proves to be correct, that would make Forrest the most blatant liar there is. And that is the hardest thing that I find to be even remotely right. If that solve is associated with that cross. No, I don't see it. While it's in the poem, you know, I don't see that is what Forrest did this all about. And by that I mean I don't believe it's a simple solve or a difficult but not impossible solve or a diabolical solve. I don't see it being any of those. But I could be wrong. No, because then that would be tantamount to cheating, wouldn't it, Five Leaf? The whole point is, if you understand the poem and everything, then you don't need the reassurance. The poem tells you what's happening. If they were to get in touch with you and people to find out they got in touch with you, then that would be another court case, wouldn't it? So I think you'll find out whoever the solver is when Forrest deems the finder solver to be safe. You know, even even that, it's in a safe place. What does the word safe mean? You see, I don't. They would have to admit that they've lost to be upset that they're losing. And if they're upset that they're losing, it means that they've looked at their solve and said, "Well, actually, no, Forrest said this." And there were many times when I looked at my solve and thought, "Oh, I can't believe it. I don't believe I didn't think of that flipping thing that Forrest said." And then it's a great solve and it's gone. And it's, I wouldn't say it's hurtful, but you put a lot of effort in and then you tell yourself you're wrong. It's not good. I suppose it's worse if somebody else tells you wrong. But if they're telling you you're wrong and they're correct, but you're wrong, then it helps you start again. It's like I say to some people, like, you haven't got many friends, and they say, why? I say, because they let you walk out of the house looking like that. You know, it's better that somebody tells you, that you've got toilet paper hanging out or, stuff on your shoe or whatever. It's better that they tell you that than you go out and everybody sees it and laughs at you, surely. So, I'd rather somebody say, Mary, you're wrong. And if it has to be me that says I'm wrong, then it has to be me. I'd rather I said I was wrong than somebody else. Is the moon full tonight? No, the moon is not full tonight. The moon is crescent. Well, was. Yes, it's still crescent. It's still crescent, and I think Venus was like running ahead. The moon's chasing it. Well, it looks like Venus to me. I was told the other day it was Jupiter, which makes it Forrest. So, in my opinion, he's not a liar. No way. He can't be because if he were a liar, nobody, including you, Five Leaf, would have found the cipher. I don't think anybody would be on FF's level, Forrest's level. I don't like saying like Fenn or FF or whatever, but that nobody would be anywhere near solving this. Like, so everybody who thinks they solved it, you didn't solve it. Forrest told you the answer. Whoever you think you are, whoever you think you solved it, you didn't solve it. You got information from Forrest that led you down a path that helped you solve it because you'd never solved it on your own. And that includes me and Davey. You could be right, Galaxy. But Forrest did say his treasure was found. So that could mean there is only a finder, or that could mean there is a solver. And I'd like to agree with that. There is a solver, but the solver hasn't taken the bait. So, well, that could be a diabolical as well solve as well, John. The chest is the chest that's on the book. That's the chest that went to auction. So if that chest is in your lap, when you open that, you'd either laugh or cry. There is a set over there. How it's sold. It's going to still be. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think Street probably said something about this. That chest weighs 40 odd pounds. If you're going to put that on your lap, good luck to you. I like that, Bill. But see, yeah. So if everybody's part of the chase, so those people that are left are part of the chase. In my opinion, they're helping whoever has the answers, or even if not helping them, it's still hopefully what Forrest is aiming for. Does not Well, Forrest said that you have to think what if, and things aren't what they seem, and words don't mean what you think they do. And he looked up all the words. So if you don't use all the words in the poem, because it's risky not to use them all, then maybe you need to use a few more words or understand why Forrest made those statements. But Terry Scant, yes. So Forrest said, get the hell out of there. There had to be a reason for that statement. Now I think that's a simple solved statement. That you don't go anywhere other than first two clues, and you get the hell out of there when you seen the blaze and done what you need to do and take the chest and go in peace. And that in itself is in peace is possibly another statement that could lead on to so why is it that I must go? And you have to bear in mind that that chest is going to go back to the Smithsonian if I said that, or wherever. There had to be a reason for that. There has to be more than one answer because Forrest told us about more than one thing. But you see, unfortunately, I disagree with that. There is a gold 2 treasure, possibly. Um, title to the gold should have made people question their soul, in my opinion. How do you get title to the gold? Well, it's either a mine or gold doesn't mean what you think it does if you're getting title. So gold may be something else, and title may be something else. Or it may indeed be title, or it may not be gold and you're getting title to something else. So, thinking of the substitutes, there could be many ways that you look at that. It. Did you want to highlight that it, Bill? Is that what you're saying? If you found it, that's all you need. So begin it. I think if Forrest thought of everything, if there ever was a case that it would, I think the poem would speak for itself, irrespective of what solve came along. I think all the statements that Forrest made were to protect the finder and were to aid the finder. So all those statements that he made will come into play in regard to the poem in a way to aid the finder. And the finder will use those statements as collateral. Yes, absolutely you keep digging. But so I said to Forrest, and I meant this when I said it. I said to Forrest, I'm not searching anymore. Happy with the solve, etc. And then, I spoke to David B, fully aware of what he was saying and how people were ignoring him. And it was difficult not to point out, some of the things in the poem. And, David B likes to dig. So there are some things that, as I spoke about the other day, Montezuma, I wouldn't dig in Idaho, because I'm not digging anymore. But Davy is. Davy digs. Davy likes digging. So, there's other stuff. And like I said, I'm not in this to keep digging. It wasn't about that. It was about helping Forrest. And if I achieved that aim, that was good. If I became financially better off, that was good. But, you know, helping Forrest was probably, my first thought after going to America, coming back and thinking, you idiot, why have you gone there for? You couldn't bring it back even if you wanted. That was how, that humbled me. Or not humbled me, but made me realise, how that gold fever had got to me. I flew all the way to America thinking I was going to pick up a chest full of gold and silver and whatever, Ceylon sapphires, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, pearls, all those things. I was going to go over there, pick it up, 42-pound weight chest, then go back to the airport with this chest and get on a plane. Flipping idiot. What were you thinking? So that woke me up. I'm computer challenged. AI can't solve. Well, it seemed like AI wrote it. It's like, what? How can all this information be in the poem? How can one man do all of this? And if you change those words, it could be AI can't loves it. I don't disagree that there was a cipher in the poem, maybe even more than one cipher. But will it give you the right answer? AI cannot solve it. Well, I don't know. AI can solve it. Whether it's the correct solve or not is another matter, just like anybody else. We can all solve the poem. We all believe we have solved it. We all believe we have a correct solve. But as I said, early on, everybody can't be correct. We can all be right, but we can't all be correct. Can't all be in different places and have the correct answer. Can be in different places and have the right answer to finding a chest, but not to solving the poem. Forrest didn't say there wasn't any ciphers. He said they wouldn't lead you to the chest, but they were offered as good solutions, or the treasure, or whatever the statement was. But they were offered as good solutions. The statement that there is no cipher is a myth. It's not real. They were offered as good solutions. There was a bit before then in that statement. So while it wasn't obvious that he was saying there are, he was saying you needed more than that. That's what I got anyway. How could one man do all this? You're right. How could one man do all this? 15 years or not? How could one man do all this? So Forrest said he doesn't mind getting help. So I believe he did have help. He did have help. I believe those people I may be talking to now. Father versus son. Grandfather or father. Wow. Them are heavy words. Yep, be an ice cube. Although, if you're living on Venus and Mars, then the sun was a little bit too much. So he, the creator of death, if those planets were, had life on, because they were too close. So I believe everybody can solve the poem. Anybody can solve the poem. It's just, is it a correct solve or not? That's the difference. Everyone's going to think they solved it, and everyone can solve it. It's not that you can't. The poem's easy enough to solve if you take it as it is, and if you follow instructions given by Forrest. You will end up with a solve of some proportion, but you will find a chest. But it's not about the chest. People keep saying, "Yeah, we know it's something more, it's something more," and then they keep saying, "I found the chest." So you found the door prize. You're basically saying, "I found second prize, and I want second prize. I don't want to look for first prize or diabolical prize." Why did Forrest write that epitaph? What does it mean? What does it really mean? It's like, just, why is there a picture of, a load of trees, 23 stumps, is it? Cut. Somebody standing there looking at a moon that has stars in it. It's a crescent moon. It shouldn't have any stars in it. Like, it's obviously got to be telling something. Excuse me. And some Mercury. Well, it is cold on some of these planets because their atmosphere isn't able to retain the heat. So whilst they're close, it doesn't mean to say that they're hot all the time, because on the other side it'd be freezing. So because it doesn't retain the heat. Well, a sun by any other name, that's what I say. Yeah, so, you know, I agree with that statement, John. Readjust. So Forrest said, move with confidence, shift, drift, and adjust. But then he added as well, the one who can best adapt. So, there must be something that is changing. Must be. So if you're going to adapt, then I'd say you'd have to readjust as well, because something's changed. So if you've already adjusted, then you must have to readjust. So I'd go with that readjust in along with shift, drift, and adjust, and then adapt, which makes you readjust. I thought Mercury was a messenger, and maybe the Rocky Mountain. Only one side is the dark side. It's cold, very cold, freezing cold. Both are the same. I'm not sure what that is. Two, Mercury and the Moon, or twins, Sun and missing two. Whatever that is. See, I think the bullshit is being proven as we go through the chase. I think that's what all the lawsuits are about. The bullshit's coming out in order to, just in case somebody wants to come out with some bullshit. I think Mana is 40 something too. Now you're not trying to confuse me with the stuff you write. because you have to have a start for 20. I'm getting myself confused with who Creighton is. I thought Creighton was the son of. Well, that could be right, actually, shouldn't it? Creighton is the son of Skippy. That would make him roughly that age, I suppose. Sorry, Bill, I was almost going to doubt you then. But no, if that was Bill who said that. Is that right? Yeah, Bill. But now you're getting too technical for me, and it's past my bedtime. I have 3 hours sleep before I have to go to work, so sorry, I'm going to have to cut it short. I do appreciate you all being here, even you lurkers, thinking there's like 4 or 5 people writing and 19 people there, or one, including me, 18 people. But I thank you all for spending time with me. I probably won't, be able to wake up this morning, 25 past 1 in the morning. I think the actors have already been outed, um, and possibly in the poem they've been outed. That sounds like a mammoth task, Bill. What would you do without a mammoth task? So reading the poem in a mirror could help. Hmm. Why would that be any different than reading it normally? So I do thank you, especially Bill, Sophia, Five, Wig. I know we've gone, but he was here. Amy, ooh, Live It Vivid. Say John, I think it did. The people that were in chat, but it's hard to say thank you to people who just in the shadows, as it were. So I do thank you for watching, but it's hard to name you if you're unknown. So I've listened to what everybody says, and most of it I agree with. Obviously, not all of it, but it doesn't matter what I think in the grand scheme of things. It only matters what Forrest. So it doesn't matter who you are; it only matters who you can make them think you are. And if Forrest looked up all the words, then you have to understand those words. You have to. There must have been a reason why I looked them all up. But there may have only been a few words in there that he needed to look up to make sure that it meant what he wanted it to mean. Because words don't mean what you think they do. So they mean what he thinks they do. And, I firmly believe that if I'd have known 2 words, I would have only looked at one possible solution. And if I hadn't gone to the US, excuse me, and realised I was an idiot because, even if I went and walked up to the chest and picked it up, I was never going to get it home. No way. Just not going to walk onto an airplane with a chest full of stuff. So it's like, oh man, look what gold fever does to you. and that once you realise that, if you're just doing it for the gold, and you realise that you're such an idiot and an a-hole because that's why you did it, makes you think differently. It was never going to happen. Yet all the time, from leaving my house, getting on a plane, getting off the plane, getting off at Casper, Denver, Casper, all the time up until that point that I was walking and looking around me and thinking, this isn't how you do it. And even if I did find it, what am I going to do? Put it in my pocket. £40 chest, 10 by 10, and then go through customs. Beep, 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 beep. What's that? Oh, it's a bronze chest with a load of jewels and gold in it. Okay, yeah, put it in hand luggage. Ain't gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So it's like, Mary, what you do? So there was a defining moment for me. Are you asking me? When do you think the solution will be out? Never. Oh, you got an answer, Sophie. You think it will never be out? The solution's been out in the open, just not. You didn't have to write that, Bill. Wigrees might be Dave W. playing the Crystal Reeve Superman part. It doesn't matter. Everybody's welcoming in. It doesn't matter. I don't try to be offensive to anybody. I am sure that everybody must realise by now that everybody solved it. And if you don't think that everybody solved it, then there's something wrong. Everybody solved the poem. The point was whether you did it correctly or incorrectly, and whether you helped Forrest or didn't help Forrest. Those things are the things that matter. The fact that you solved it was because Forrest wanted, led you to solve it, in my opinion. Could be wrong. Nope, Bill, my name is Rick. There you go, Bill. Not faster than a speeding Model A. So I don't, while people think I am insulting them, I'm not insulting anybody by saying I don't agree with them. I'm saying I don't agree with you. It's not an insult. And I then tell you why I don't agree with you. It's still not an insult. If somebody says, Mario, your solve is pathetic, not that I've told you my solve. I've given you answers, but I haven't said what the solve is to get that answer. So those people that know what the answer is will know that I've given the answer, and will know that at some point I've told them how to get the answer. But I've never put the two together in any of the answers that you need. And as I stated from my first beginnings, I will have two conversations: the one that you think I'm saying to you, and the one that I'm really saying. And I won't give a soul, but I will give you the information. And I've given you the information that if you put together, it's possible to have, what I think is many souls. And again, it doesn't make me correct just because I say those things. It just means that's what I think in my reverie, in my imagination, where I find lots of stuff. And I look in the poem and imagine lots of stuff. So I'm definitely going. Right, we've done that. Done that. Well, like I say, if the answers are in the poem, Forrest said the answers are all you need. The poem is all you need. So you have to start there. If you start looking on the internet, then you're going away. Like Forrest says, you solve the first two clues, you're walking right by the chest. So once you leave the poem and leave the footpath, you're in the dark forest. And, nothing good comes from being in the dark forest. Absolutely, I agree there aren't many answers. And that was a question that was asked of Forrest. It was spelt incorrectly or correctly. There was answer and answers. He said he won't help you with the solve. But, if you know there are many answers, or one answer doesn't make any difference. You were told there was a simple solve. You were told there was a difficult but not impossible solve. And you were told that he was diabolical. So, that in itself must mean there's three answers. But, I believe the statement of look forward to new discoveries is important. Also, along with drain the pond and me taking flack and think nice thoughts. I think that was probably a catalyst to the chest being found and the moving forward. Because I believe we are moving forward. I believe over the 3 years, events have taken place that says we're making strides. I know some people don't believe that, but I do. And I don't believe that people are lying. I believe they're giving information and people are misunderstanding the information they're given. Just because somebody tells you there's a GPS solve and it's made of kangaroo words and homophones and blah, blah, blah. I think the important thing is there may be a GPS solve. The fact that they're incorrect in the solve that they give you doesn't make the information they're giving incorrect. So, Forrest said, you don't have to tell the whole truth, just part of the truth. So, and that might make people believe that I'm part of this chase, but I'm not part of the chase. I am a searcher who wanted to find a chest full of gold that somebody hid in the Rocky Mountains, and then realised that's a foolish thing to even think of. So why do it? I don't think there's an excuse. I think there's an explanation. Like this thumb, like the Philadelphia thumb. Even that, how high would one have to be to cover the whole of Philadelphia? It'd have to be fairly high. I mean, Philadelphia isn't a small place, is it? And his thumb wasn't here. It's not stretched. So the only thing is who is Forrest? Where is Forrest? Those things are more important than the chest. In all of this, you have to think, why was it done? And if you're not, why not? Why was it done? What was the reason that this was done? That it took 15 years to do. And I think they've got a really good explanation. I think the simple solve that I believe is a simple solve. And if you haven't got a simple solve, why not? Because Forrest said it was simple. Everybody's going to think, why not I think of that? And so far, none of the solves, including some of the information I've given, is a simple, why didn't I think of that solve? I have a simple, why didn't I think of that solve? And I have a difficult but not impossible solve. And they're not in the same place. They don't mean the same thing. It's not talking about anything that is related to anything. But I have them things because Forrest told me to have them. Are they correct? Don't know. Well, I do know, but until you have the chest in your hand, you can't say. Davey. a man-made car? Surely not. Do they make them now? A man-made car? Was it made by a robot in them days? Puzzle was too. Yeah, the puzzle is amazing. Well, the whole poem is amazing. Just there's no way that, no way. It's like I don't believe it, but I know it's true. Yeah, but not everyone's going to say, "Why don't I think of that simple cipher?" And it tends to go towards the realm of specialized knowledge. I'm not saying it is, but not no child is going to just pick that up and associate, finding a chest. Oh, this morning. Bill, I've got an old car that you might want to look at. It's in Wyoming. It's a rusty car, a bit like a Model A Ford, stuck on a mountaintop. I don't know how it got there. Yeah, it could do with a crane. I don't know how it got there. I don't know how it got there. But it's the same as, don't know how the ball string got out the door and the car went missing. Yeah, I did mention that word to Forrest, I think. Did I mention it to Forrest or someone else? Crane. I remember. I was starting to. Hey, Lucky, how are you? I started to blur the lines of who I spoke to, whether it was Forrest, email, or chat, or somebody else in email. But sure, I talked about Crane. I believe modeling. Put the helicopter. Well, that reminds me of a Boulder Mountain Soul. Dal wrote about it once. Duff, I remember Duff being in part of the story. Yeah, that was interesting. That was. That needed a helicopter. That's what reminded me of that. Those were the days. That was when I was first in the chase. And I wrote Dal an email saying, I think it's at the Vietnam War Memorial. And bear in mind, I was new to the chase. It was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years behind everybody else who thought it was there. So, right, okay. But I thought I had good information. But, it was like, oh, okay. Thought I was clever. And then there were other places in New Mexico that I thought it was, including Red River. That was fun. Uh, had a conversation about Red River and Elvis and the Star of Texas and all sorts of things. Good old days. And Forrest was with us. So I'm going definitely. Thank you, Major Forrest Burke Fenn, for the Full of the Chase. Thank you, all those who helped, all those who are helping, and all those who enjoy the thrill, who want to keep the thrill. So I'm going to have to go. The Proctor was in the mountains, the treasure was. Bill, did you go and visit him while we were doing all this? You just go and look at the stuff. I think you'd have to go to that place, you know. Or if you told Forrest, Forrest said, "Tell me where it is, and I'll get it for you." He also said, "Don't go where an 80-year-old man won't go." He didn't say, "Don't go where I won't go." So you can't. The thing that Forrest said was said for a reason, and you have to look at what was said because if you just took it at face value without thinking about it, you probably misunderstood. So, no proxy, in my opinion, anyway. So this started out, this thing, in case you're all, a bit late, this started out with me saying that in the poem it says that Taylor Swift, while running for a quick change, tripped over a dress hem and hurt her left hand at the Eras tour on night 2. So just breaking news, basically, that you can find in the poem. Why would that be in the poem in the first place? And how could it be in the poem? If, in my opinion, it took... No, not in my opinion. If Forrest said it took 15 years to write the poem, and the poem came out in 2010, then he started the poem in 1995, the same time that he told Douglas Preston about the car park. So, you can do what you want with that. But in 1988, Forrest said, and then I got cancer. What everybody thought was terminal cancer. So that could be the pot of gold spot, or it could be, on his way to Capricorn, or from Pisces to Aries, or whatever. There is information in the statement that you could take lots of different ways. But Taylor Swift in 1995, how did Forrest know that this young lady was going to grow up and call the tour Eras, whatever, and on this day too was going to trip over a dress hem and hurt her hand, her left hand? So, just pause for thought. How does Forrest know these things, and why they're always in the poem? See, I believe that everything that Forrest said was helping, and that was a statement that he made. It was there to aid the finder, not the seeker. So, for me, the information makes sense, absolute sense. I don't think there's any fraud. I don't think there's any, hidden agenda other than Forrest trying to make something happen. And I'm unsure as to how happy he is that things are happening. But in my opinion, there's no, making it happen is doing what he said he would do, very honorably, in my opinion. And again, I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. And I've yet to find anybody to tell me anything different that will prove that me and Dave are incorrect in our assumptions. No deductions, not assumptions. He got a cancer. What everybody thought was a cancer. There's no hate. I don't think you were chasing her, Bill. No, I think you were close enough not to blooming chase her. And there was the issue that I had, early in the chase. It's like, Forrest, what's going on? This is, there's too much going on here. There's too many people. It was like the Enigma. It was like that. It was like, there's information, but it's only meant for certain people. I'm not saying it's ciphers or anything. I'm saying there's information, but it's only meant for certain people. These people have lots of money with big companies, and the other people are in the chase on a YouTube channel or YouTube channels. So why is that the case? Why is our chest worth $1 million or whatever it was? Been put in the Rocky Mountains with all this information here. Is this were they Navajo? I can't remember. Navajo code. Was this one of those things? Was this a way of getting information to people who would understand it and nobody would? Was it one of those things? So it was like somebody asked, what was scaring me? And it's like, well, if this hasn't come from Forrest, who's it come from? Because this is some weird shit. This is really like, it's not coincidental. This is in here for a reason. So why is it in here for a reason? And who are all these people? And then you factor in that Douglas Preston is a real name. And not being able to know if Del Neitzel is a real name, Cynthia Meacham is a real name, Barbara Reese is a real name, Jonathan Stoof, obviously we know that Jonathan Stoof has a Jack put in there, but Jonathan Stoof, Toby Younis, Shelley Carney, these people that were in the chase, it's not, they're real people or not real people. Right, I've definitely got to go. Thank you for watching. I was going to do a different format today, but found, I couldn't justify buying Zoom for £150 just to do one bit of screen share. So what I thought was Fendi Street, indie screen that could share, that sort of thing. Could I, catch a show and invite Davey and Paul? Well, anybody really, but because I really want to show, the poem in action, as opposed to just me talking about it and you trying to, either believe it or not believe it. And I was going to say, ask me what, not whatever, don't say like where was it or those sort of things, or what colour your underpants, or what, your underpants, not mine. While I think the poem has lots of answers, I'm not sure that it would do that. But just see if we could do that. People who track messages, what's going on? We all have our parts to play. Shakespeare, yes, exactly. And any part of some is better than no part of anything. I found nothing hundreds of times, found nothing once is nice. Yeah, I like that. That was better than mid-year. So what did That's almost like saying you don't want to be a forest. Or a tree in the middle of the forest that falls, that doesn't make a sound or not. Those sort of things. Right, I've got to go. Sophie Champion, I'll change it. Right, I'm going. I'm up in 2.5 hours. That's not good. So take care, everybody. I appreciate all your words of wisdom. And I'm glad that, while I don't mind criticism, I'm glad that anybody who says anything, what's the word? Something critical. I can't remember the word now. Constructive. That's the word. Constructive. So, being criticised, but being criticised constructively is not a bad thing. So, thanks all. Thanks for coming. All 19 of you. with 3 likes as well. Woohoo! Who is the expert? 5. I'm not a number. 6. You're not a number. So that's a big one. Well, wallets is a good thing, and whales and bears and bulls, all good things they are. I could still do with a password. No, I have a password. I need the bank to go with it. That would be nice. I bet the 5 I've got enough money. Oh no. I like it, Sophia. I've definitely got to go, so thanks again. Take it easy, all. I know it's coming up to your night time as well now, and Davey's brunch, I suppose. So he's 7 hours in front, so it's 9 o'clock for Davey. So take care, everyone. Messages disappearing. To blood. Will miss you, Mario, till again. Miss me? Where am I going? I'm sleeping for like 2.5 hours, then I'm up again if anybody's live. So, yeah, it's been nice to have you share some time with me. Good night, all. Thanks again. Sorry I've got to go. If it weren't going to work, I would stay and chat, but I've got to get up in 2.5 hours. So that's me saying ciao for now. Sorry I couldn't do the Zoom. I'd say £150 from you has to be justified. I can justify it. Take care. Thanks, Lucky. Thanks, Wig. Thanks, Sophia. Thanks, John. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Davey B. Take care. Probably, I don't know when I'll be able to get hold of you again. Maybe, after my 4 o'clock-ish. Ciao for now.